this morning. So thank you, Brenden. You are today's MVP.
You're welcome, buddy. As soon as we're all live, I'll chime in. But I want to get us all set and rolling.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm giving you your moment. I'm giving you your moment over there. Because for those of you who don't know how this works, like seriously, like whenever I produce, and Brendan's, similar, it takes a little bit to get like your computer. First off, we have 6 screens back there we can look at, especially now with YouTube. But it takes you a minute to get everything situated exactly how you want it. Like, I guarantee you, if I walk in there right now, how I had the button bar and the wall situated on the screens is not in the same spot because Brenden likes it in his spot. You get in your groove. And then you got to set up your other computer that has other sounders and the YouTube and all that stuff. And that takes time. Usually we're here, like I said, we're here early, going to take, our 15 minutes to set up everything how we want, get all our buttons ready to go. Now, Brenden literally walked in that studio door with, I think, a minute and 20 seconds to air. And to be fair, if our boss walked in right at this moment where I just said that, that's when he just turned on the station. He walked in with a minute and 20 seconds to show. I walked in with 120 seconds to show. So I was only a few seconds ahead of him. Had that computer ready to go, though, Brenden. I was like, I'm going to hit this Goldberg-Jones sounder. I'm going to pop off our news report. We're going to have fun. Whew. Now the worst part is I got to wait for the break because I had to get right on the radio. I think my hand's still a little gassy. If we had YouTube rolling.
Help for you, Chris. Soap and water won't help. Anyone want to throw out a homemade solution? Please do on Twitter.
I'm just gonna go find wherever the office Febreze is and just open that up and just dump it on my hand. Get off. I'm also the worst part is to make this all worse, Brenden, is no disrespect to Justin or Chad or anyone else who hosts, yourself included, but there is radio host comfort levels, right? And what I mean by that is look at Justin. He's always in just a pair of jeans, nice t-shirt, right? Chad, always same thing, jeans, nice comfy shirt. You like to rock your Oregon State Beaver hoodies all the time, nice and comfy, cozy. Well, I'm a man who wears many hats, and everyone who listens knows I also work for the OSAA. Well, today we have big meetings, big board meetings today. So you'll see on YouTube once that's up and going. It might be up. I'll check. But I dressed up today, right? Okay, big board meetings. I got to look good. So, okay, YouTube's up. So you can see I got the tie on. I got the collared shirt. I had to get the suit vest. I got the nice jacket. And I'm like, oh, and this is the morning that I have to pour gas into my gas tank because I messed up royally? Oh, my goodness. Brenden is over here helping me because as we're trying to pour gas into the gas tank, I think more of it is spilling onto the side of the gas tank because the little nozzle that you had to put in there was, I don't know how it was manufactured, but it was a little off the walls. So, the gas is falling off the side. Brenden is kind enough to look down and goes, hey, man, just move your foot. Don't want to get any on your shoe because he's worrying about everything, not just the car. That's a good man right there. But, of course, it's rainy and stormy because it's Portland. So the wind starts blowing. And I have to jump back because gas is, missing a little bit and starting to fly, down up I-5 north a couple feet. It was a journey, Brenden, but
I'd love to know if anybody was passing us that saw us right in front of Bridgeport. If you guys saw 2 cars on the side of the road, please chime in. I'd love to know if anybody saw us.
Brendan's like, hey, will you send me a pin so I can put it into my map? I'm like, I'm literally on the side of I-5.
Hey, the pin was very helpful, okay? It
took me a second to send it to you because every time I was trying to do the pin, since I was off to the side of the road, it kept putting me at the storage unit that was on the other side of the fence or whatever. So it wasn't even putting me on I-5. I mean, how does it do it? I-5 doesn't really have a location, right? But man, that's a way to start the show, Brenden. That is, I said, we're going to have stories. We're going to have stories. Tony, LeBron, Jaden Daniels, they got nothing on the great gas caper of 2023. I just love too, guys, because I called Brenden, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm in trouble. And he's like, totally expecting, I hit a little bit of traffic. Yeah, I'm probably going to walk in about, 5:50. And usually Brendan's going to be like, yeah, dude, all good. I mean, we've had it before. I'm sure you had it with Justin where, we've prepped the show via the phone call on the ride in. That was a day I filled in for Justin, and we did not expect it. And we woke up this morning, and it was icy. Icy. And so I-205, there was a wreck on 205 that had 205 shut down at 4:30 in the morning, and I had to back roads it in, which tripled my time to get here. Yeah. So I call you and we're just prepping the show. There was no time for show prep today. No time for show prep. I'm telling you, I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? How about you stop at a gas station, grab a gas canister, fill it up. And then I look, I'm like, oh, the two closest gas stations were the exit in front of me. Yeah, they were closed. They were closed. I mean, so you could have gone in and got gas, but you couldn't have gone in and bought a gas canister. Brenden, what happened when you walked into the first gas station and asked for a gas canister?
They said you're SOL, except sorry out of luck is what I'll use.
How the heck a gas station not have a gas canister?
Now, the guy that was there could not have been more apologetic. He's like, what? We normally always have, like, he's like, he was so nice. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I got to go right to your competitor. So my bad. So I just went up the road and let's just say the gas station that has a blue wavy logo saved your morning.
There you go. Thank you, blue wavy logo gas station. They did. Saved my bacon. Brenden is going to play this smart, though. And he is going to inflate. You need to. Inflation's a thing, right? I need you're going to inflate the cost of that gas canister as you should. Now, I can hop on Google real quick, and I can confirm the price of the gallon of gas you paid for. 2 gallons, actually. I can confirm that. Can't confirm what you paid for. And you could be like, I could be like, hey, Brenden, I know gas canisters that size. Those are only like $5-10. You're like, yeah, but because the other one was out, supply and demand, this one was actually 25, bro. That's the smart play.
There's unfortunately, Chris, because the first thing the guy told me when I went to the next gas station was, are you sure you want to pay that price? Like referencing that he knows it's an expensive gas tank. So 25, you pretty much hook, line, and sinkers. How much it costs? $24.99.
Did it really?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I said that as a joke.
No,
that's
you
way
were
too
100%
expensive.
right.
Now, see, but here's the thing. Now I don't know if it really did, or you are playing the game like I suggested, like a pure champ.
No. Too much has gone on for this morning to lie to you, my friend.
Did he really look at you and say, like, are you sure
Oh,
you
yeah,
want to
no,
pay
he did.
that?
Yeah, he did. 100%. He looks at me and he goes, you sure you want to buy one? I go, I got a coworker straight on the side of the road. I got no choice. He goes, all right, well. And he kind of gave me sucks to be you this morning. He's like, he goes, hope your morning gets better.
You know what the best part is? Like, you're like, no, it doesn't suck to be me because he's paying for it.
It's like, yeah, no. So many emotions were running through my mind. I was like, can we just get here, get there? We'll worry about the rest later. But as you know, Chris, like, effort is required by a third party. Like, you and I just can't not show up at 6 a.m. Otherwise, dead air goes across this station.
Yes.
Then we're all busted.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is set up. People don't know. So it's all set up in like automation, right? So at that 6 o'clock hour, because it's always dependent on someone being here or expecting here, it automatically fires off Fox Sports National and goes to whatever button Brenden or the producer in that chair pushes, which today was the Goldberg-Jones sound update. But if there's no one in that chair to push said button, it would cut Fox Sports off, and then it just would have been silent until someone figured it out.
Which would have woken up many folks, Chris.
Yes, because many of our producers have emergency alert systems on their phone that notify them when the station goes to dead air.
Just beat that by like a minute and a half, so I'm feeling pretty good
there
this
you
morning.
Go. I know. I called when I called Shacker, the great Michael Shacker. I was like,
Thankfully,
hey,
he picked up.
Yeah, we might need you. We might need you. He's like, oh, dude, did I read the schedule wrong? Am I supposed to work the morning show today? Which is exactly what happened to me a couple weeks ago when you had to re-air the Monday episode because Justin was sick. So, tell you what, man, this place, I love it. Hey, you want to find a way to get energy for a morning show? Run out of gas on I-5 North in the middle of a morning rainstorm and have to pray that your producer can get there. What morning. But Brenden, we got sports to talk about today, my man. I'm going to let you pick next segment. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the crazy, maybe controversial, because some people like it, some people don't, NBA in-season tournament, or the Heisman Trophy ceremony?
I might have to go with option C and talk about Patrick Mahomes showing the most emotion that I have ever seen. And again, I'm no lip reader, but if I were to guess, I heard the word, again, this whole thing is because of Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
Reading lips, Chris, it looks like cut that bleep. So
We shall see.
I would be willing to bet that Kadarius Toney will probably not have a job today. That was a all-time blunder. And Chris, it took away one of the coolest and sexiest plays you've ever seen in football.
It was pretty nice.
Like, I'm sorry, that would have made Swifties
The crazy
proud.
part is, too, you know that Frank Wycheck passed away yesterday. The man who passed the ball in what is known as the Music City Miracle. You know what that is, right?
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh, rest in peace.
And
rest
so
in peace.
that play, it wasn't kickoff, but that lateral back, that backwards, reminiscent of the Music City Miracle.
That's a good point. But no, that was nuts. And Patrick Mahomes got crushed by Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, Chris. And you didn't see that much emotion.
You
so
did not.
He is heated. And I imagine we're not going to be filming any Jake with State Farm commercials today.
Absolutely. All right. Option C coming up after I go get this gas smell off my hands. The morning show continues right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Hey, this is Justin Myers here to tell you about DeBella. Hey, this is Justin. Hey, this is Justin Myers here to tell you about DeBella. They are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. And we all know Portland weather can be brutal. This winter might even be colder than last year. And you can save up to 30% on your energy bills with DeBella. That's right. They take care of your roofing, windows, all your siding renovations. And if your roof is leaking or just aging, you can get a free quote from my friends at DeBella right now. DeBella can also help with your windows, siding, and bath projects. The team is one of the best in Oregon. And you might be saying, you know what, Justin, everybody says they're the best. Well, let's just check out the numbers. Why? Because DeBella has over 15,000 five-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. Now is the perfect time to connect with DeBella. There's an amazing finance opportunity with zero down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. You heard right. Zero down, no payments until 2025 on approved credit for your roofing, siding, windows, or bath renovation. Visit DeBella.us for your free, no obligation appointment, and they'll make updating your home easy. DeBella is the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers.
How did he do that? He's not even here today. How does he get a read in? That's amazing. Technology is something else. Chris Burkhardt here with you this morning. Luckily with you here.
Yeah,
this
other
morning.
than getting gas, Chris, that was the one thing I was told to remember for today. The live read and then gas. So
Well,
I've checked my boxes for the day. I'm good.
Good. You're good to go. We're back and ready and rolling. And okay, I gave Brenden two options, and he chose option C, which wasn't even an option yet. But I can't say no to him because again, he saved my bacon this morning. He's in charge, and I bow to my new producer overlord. So here we are, Kansas City last night. Brenden saw one of, if not the, it definitely wasn't the, but it's one of the greatest plays ever, right? 4th and 15, Mahomes drops back, hits Kelsey over the middle. Kelsey draws about, 13 Bills defenders. They just leave Kadarius Toney wide open on the other hash. Kelsey throws the ball backwards. Toney catches it, walks into the end zone. Chiefs are up with about a minute and a half left to play. Big things happening in KC. They cut to Josh Allen. You see the look of just instant pain. He's like, here we go again. Another loss to the Chiefs. Oh, wait. There's laundry on the field. Oh, it's at the line of scrimmage. That usually means offsides. Probably a free play. Well, it was offsides, but it wasn't a free play. Offsides. Offensive player lined up in the neutral zone. Kadarius Toney. Clearly offsides, by the way. Play gets called back. Bills end up winning 20-17. And as you said, Pat Mahomes, he did with a capital H. And it got, in my opinion, little slippery and squirrely from there, because his heated moment that you're talking about that you all saw was right there on the sideline, right? He's getting held back by coaches and players, and he's yelling. He's obviously kind of mad that Toney did that, but he's also mad at the refs for calling it. And then it got, in my opinion, Brenden, I got to stop saying that. I hate when people say that, and here I am saying my opinion. Of course, it's my opinion. I'm the one talking about it. But then it just got worse because post-game presser, he's just like crying over spilt milk, right?
I think the part that makes this all worse is the fact of who it was, right? If this was Travis Kelce, you'd be like, okay. But Kadarius Toney, one of the biggest what-if talents perhaps of the last few years. The guy was a first-round draft pick of the Giants. So many issues, injury-related, attitude-related. He gets basically shipped out of the Giants, the Chiefs, because, they need a receiver with a pulse, take a chance on the guy. He'd shown some flash. I believe this is his second year with them, but has had lapses like this. Like he has these moments where just the wires don't come together for him as a football player, for lack of better terms. And, I think I remember a time where he cost his team sometimes in New York, and then particularly this, Chris. I mean, the Chiefs are probably going to be fine. I'm not really too worried about Dangerous and the Broncos catching them. But, hey, it is 2 games now, or 1 game now. 8-5 for the Chiefs after winning a Super Bowl. Whoo, Nelly, that's not good, man. That is not good.
Now I'm going to throw you off here for a second because I know Justin doesn't do this, but I got sound on this laptop, so pop this host PC on real quick, and you got to listen to this because, again, I like Patrick Mahomes a lot, right? He's got that big. It's the easier to understand Ed Orgeron voice, right?
You don't go Kermit?
A little bit, no. No, Kermit's a little higher. Kermit's got the rasp, but Kermit's higher, right?
It's close, like, the joke around our family is he's Kermit, but, it's kind of funny.
He's like a mix of Kermit and Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, like, it's his voice, like, give him credit, because, Chris, if he wasn't really good at football, would he be in commercials?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe a voice actor. I mean, and Ed Orgeron, I mean, he sounds like the dude from Joe Dirt. You remember that movie? I mean, Ed Orgeron. Yeah, it was a good game. I got 5 touchdowns. It was pretty good. I really like the way Patrick Mahomes played. Like, that's Ed Orgeron. It's amazing. Now, Patrick Mahomes post game again. I like the guy. I think he's great for the game. He's an absolute magician on the field. But this was just sour grapes in the post game press conference. And the reason I say that's sour grapes is like, yeah, there's another game they decided to. He was offsides. Now there's some debate. People are saying, well, he checked with the ref, and the ref said, well, if the ref said, yeah, the ref isn't going to throw the flag. Unless there's some just absolute blatant Tim Donaghy nonsense going on here, right? Which,
I'll say this, who needed the game more? Probably the Bills. So I'm not into conspiracy. Like, again, they always say on TV, Chris, they're like, the blue line or, yellow line you see at home is not 100% accurate.
Yeah, it's not.
But I'll say this, Chris, if it was close, like half of his cleat was across that blue line. Like, I don't blame Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels when they go back and are like, yeah, that's a tough call, but look at it.
I've watched them call.
There's no debate. It sucks. And I hate it. It's called right there, but you got to be better, Tony. That's
right. You got to know where you're at. But I've seen him call far less egregious ones, right? Where like, yeah, his foot was behind the line, but he was leaning so far forward. His helmet was behind over the line. Like, okay, like this one was obvious. He's over the line. And then Patrick Mahomes gets all mad, and they do the whole, yeah, it didn't really have an impact on the play. Yeah, how often do they call a holding penalty on the opposite side of the field that really didn't impact the play? The rule's the rule. The penalty's the penalty. There's only one person to be mad at here, and I don't think you should be mad at him. You should be a good teammate, pick him up. But this is on Tony. This is not on the dude who threw the flag or any of the refs. It's not on the white hat, right? It's on Tony. Like, you have to know where you're at. It's also interesting to me, Brenden. Every receiver does this, right? They line up, they look at the ref. Am I good? Am I good? Like, why? I'm looking at the ref over here on the sideline. If I turn my head the other way, I promise you I'll see where the ball is. I'll have a pretty good idea of if I'm offsides or not, right? Now, I know they check for obvious reasons because perception and all this stuff. But again, that one, it's not even like Tony was lined up wide out, right? He's like bunched in on the formation, pretty close to no, I'm way over the line here. Like, unless he's like, okay, I know I'm over the line, but if I move, I'm going to get a false start or draw attention to it. Then they're gonna, you know what I mean? I think he was like, what do I do? And like you said earlier, moments in times where the wires just don't connect, right? They cross a little weird and it doesn't make sense. The part that makes this one so tough, and I will side with Patrick right there, that play was amazing. That play was amazing.
Was somebody trying to show off for Swifty?
I
Just saying. I actually don't think she was there last night. I watched a good bit of the game. They didn't pan up to her. But regardless, man, T. Kelsey, man, he's. Let me put it this way, Chris. He's in that relationship. He got himself some swagger.
Yes.
But
yes,
back
does.
to Tony.
Shoot your shot.
I had to
shoot your shot.
Yeah, no doubt. I had to go back and look. So, Chris, going back to week 1 when the Chiefs lost to the Lions, and it was kind of the Lions coming out party, there were a couple big mistakes by Kadarius Toney in that game that cost him that game too. So, at a point when a player is starting to be defined by the mistakes that he makes rather than the plays that he makes, that's where I think there was some frustration because, unfortunately, this is not the first time he's cost the Chiefs a chance at a win.
Right.
And when you're not and there are 2 guys in that room who you can live with, hey, you didn't make the play? All right, we go down with you. And their names are Mahomes and Kelsey. There's not one other guy that, you'd be like, yeah, okay, you did your best. We just came up short. And I don't know how many more mulligans that kid's going to get. And not trying to hate on him, but you've got to be better when you need your team to win a game like that. I mean, the simple things like that, Chris, and I can't say that I've played a ton of football, but I imagine those kind of procedural things drive a coach crazy.
Oh, yes. Yes. Coach can live with, when a holding happens. Coach can live with a pass interference because that happens. The ones that are 100% mental and easily prevented by just, not being a doofus, those are the ones that a coach will get irritated with. Like me, if I were a coach, I'll tell you right now, the one penalty that would irritate me more than any other, false start.
Yep.
There are literally 11 men on the field who know exactly what the snap count is. There's 22 men on the field total. 11 of them know what the snap count is. How in the heck do you jump early? And it's even more so egregious when it's the home team that does it. The crowd's not even loud. I hate it. You know what the snap count is. Don't get that itchy trigger finger. But you're right. If Kelsey did it, not a thing. If Kelsey didn't throw that lateral and he gets tackled at the 15, wherever it was when he threw it, first down. Oh, wait. Bringing the ball back. Get it? People are like, Mahomes and them still might be mad, but it's not the same level of, oh, they really messed that up. And,
I think there was a minute left. So say you get the touchdown, I think that would put them up then 4. You're asking Josh Allen and the Bills to drive the length of the field in a minute. Not saying, that was a good game. 2 good offenses. Who knows? But
hey, history shows. We've seen the Bills and Chiefs play a game where they put up about 60 points combined in the final 30 seconds of a game. So,
but I do find it interesting, Chris, that it's everything that I've seen, everything I've seen on social media, you and I agreeing this morning, there is nobody coming out saying, yeah, that was a bad call. The refs deserve no blame in this.
No, I don't think they do.
And I know it's easy to bag on the refs, and I know Chiefs fans don't want to hear that, but it's just where, a guy who wasn't mentally locked in has to be better.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. They said the only part that, to me, that just sucks about this as a football fan is how good that play was. Also, why don't people draw something like that up more often? I mean, he totally drew 4 defenders, and there was nobody.
Do you think it was do you think it was drawn up that way, or do you think Kelsey? I'm not sure, but do you think it was drawn up that way? Or do you think Kelsey's just like, hey, well, this looks cute?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I think it was Tony Romo on the call, right? And he's like, it wasn't drawn up that way. I call BS on that one because you want to talk about coaches getting mad. That's a doghouse type play. If he throws that ball and Tony doesn't expect it to come and it goes off his hands and the Bills pick that ball up, in the situation, Brenden, you're like, why risk it for the biscuit, as they say, because you got a first down and 15 yards out, minute to go. You're right back in this one with one of the highest powered offenses in the NFL. Yeah, I don't think that was something that was just a spur of the moment. I think they planned that out to make sure it was run to perfection, and it was.
If that's the case, yeah, you're right. I think it would take an awful lot to put Travis Kelce in the doghouse, as you mentioned. in any aspect of life. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the coolest plays ever. It was a bummer to see it, be called back. And obviously now, like I said, the Chiefs are they're not in any danger of probably not making the playoffs or anything drastic like that. But when you look, like, because of, some of the issues, particularly they have at wide receiver, where they don't really have a dude, it is Travis Kelce. That could be a weakness for them going into the playoffs. Watched a lot of football yesterday, Chris, and I think I feel pretty confident in saying there's some other teams that have much better execution than the Chiefs right now.
Tell you this, the Chiefs are 8-5, first place in the AFC West. Denver's closing. They're playing a lot better.
It's only a game, folks. We were writing off Russ at the beginning of the year, and I'm not the biggest Russell Wilson sympathizer over here, but after hating on him for as long as we did, kind of interesting to see him win some games.
But it's interesting though. You look at the AFC, Brenden, and if they're firing on all cylinders on any given night, Miami can be a juggernaut. They're really good when they want to be. They're just a little up and down, right? And sometimes game to game, sometimes drive to drive. You saw Buffalo get the win, maybe controversially for some, but they did get the win. So you got that. Baltimore, even though they're 10-3 and have the best record in the conference, they're like a dark horse. I feel like people are sleeping on them for some reason. Maybe it's because Lamar Jackson hasn't been that dude in the playoffs. That's the biggest knock on him, right? But the team's playing very, very good football right now. And Jacksonville, if you have Trevor Lawrence healthy, that's a pretty good team that's up and coming as well. So this is not like years past where it was just Kansas City and everybody else in the AFC, right? So you're right. You need these wins. You need to figure it out. And so, yeah, I think they're going to be fine, but that win would have been pretty nice for them. Now, interestingly enough, going back to your question, Brenden, of do you think it was planned? If that wasn't planned, if that was not planned, that was spur of the moment, Kelce saw something going down, then we may have seen in the span of 6 seconds of gameplay, Brenden, the biggest buffoonery, the biggest dumb-headed play of all time. Not really, but it's up there. By Tony, followed up by one of the most heads-up plays ever by the exact same guy. Like heads up enough to be like, hey, Travis, I'm right here. Throw back. No one's around me. Oh, boom. Catch it. In. Touchdown. Heads up play. Good job. After one of the biggest the heck plays.
It's a good point. I mean, you have to still have to weigh that too because they don't score without him making that play either. And, there was time and all that. But, yeah, what is just one of the craziest sequences and one of those things that, like, you couldn't really explain to somebody without, like, video replay that didn't watch the game.
Right.
Like, it's almost indescribable. And, they always say it's tougher to be, the hunted than the hunter. And, the Chiefs are obviously the team to beat, Super Bowl champs. And not to say that they can't do it again, but Chris, like you said, I like Miami when they're rolling. I think when they roll there, I remember earlier this year when I think they have the season high in just points by an individual team when they hung, oh gosh, what was it? Like 70.
It was 70.
70 on the Broncos. Chris, I can't tell you the last team that I've seen put 70 on the board. I like them. After last night, I really like the Dallas Cowboys. I think I don't know, Stephen A. Smith, and how about them Cowboys? Chris, this might be the first time in my lifetime where I actually and not a Cowboy sympathist here, but they do have Brandon Cook. Shout out my boy. The Cowboys might have a legit chance at a Super Bowl, Chris, and like the first time like in my lifetime, which is pretty crazy.
They have no chance. They got to get through my San Francisco 49ers.
They're a heck of a good team too. But watching last night, it was a very impressive win for them over the Eagles. So I think we're gonna have some really darn good football down the stretch.
Tell you this: 3 best teams in the NFL right now are red and gold, green and white and silver, or blue and silver. I don't know which ones they really claim, but the team that wears the same uniform pretty much every game.
Right.
Throw me off. Those white lids are pretty clean, though. I'll tell you that much. All right, Brendan, let's take a break here. Still plenty of sports to talk about. And we're going to try to, clock integrity. That's akin to, lining up where you're supposed to be, not getting off sides, right? Because then the clock gets thrown off. Everything's messed up.
Yes,
We don't
sir.
do that around here. I don't want to be going and blaming the refs for, taking a break 30 seconds late. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Justin Myers this morning. Rip City Mornings continues right here on your home, the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All I know is that man works his tail off and deserves to take a day off. And any single day, Chad will call me and be like, hey, you want to host? Yes. You could tell me I'm hosting a show from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'll be like, I'm there. Let's go. Oh, man. What a week, Brenden. What a week. I sat here and I did the news update. We started talking about KC and the craziness. Of course, my gas story. I'm not talking about irritable bowel syndrome. I'm talking about running out of gas on I-5. Dominated the first segment. I didn't even get to the fact that the Ducks have a new quarterback. And that might be pretty interesting come next season. Let's talk about it. Let's take a trip on campus. All right, we are on campus. And while the Ducks' current quarterback was in New York over the weekend trying to win the school's second ever Heisman Trophy, there was news as well that they have his replacement in line for next season. And it is not Ty Thompson, as that absolute legend has entered the portal. And I hope Ty Thompson knows that every single Duck fan that I've talked to is rooting for that man. If Oregon didn't hit the portal and gave Ty Thompson his chance, I think a lot of Duck fan would have been excited just to finally get to see him get a run. I really hope he lands in a situation where he can play. I still think he's a good quarterback.
Chris, just mentioning for a friend, the Beavers need a quarterback.
Hey, they do.
He want to come up the road, we'd welcome him with open arms.
They do if he wants to go take that. And honestly, with a guy with that much eligibility, and I mean, there's going to be some learning curve and learning pains, I think, for the Beavers next season. Just new head coach, so losing so many talented players to the portal. If you could get a good quarterback, a nice young guy for Bray to just kind of mold and go, not a bad choice. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going there, but I get what you're saying. I still think Ty Thompson has a lot of upside, and he still has a lot of eligibility left as well. But the reason he entered the portal, Brenden, was because news came out over the weekend that Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel, another Hawaiian quarterback, just like the great Marcus Mariota, is going to be playing his final year of college football at the University of Oregon. And that's pretty good to hear as a Duck fan, because as much as I wanted to see Ty get his chance, if you are in, and I think they're in one with Lanning, you're in legit college football playoff contention. And the fact that they're going to 12 teams next year, and I still think with 12 teams, even in the Big Ten, Oregon's going to have a chance. Get yourself a quarterback who can just throw it, who can sling it. And Gabriel absolutely can. Absolutely can. So I love it. It's also my conspiracy theory as to why the Heisman Trophy went to Jaden Daniels and not Bo Nix, was because the committee really didn't want to give a Heisman to the same school 2 years in a row, and Dylan Gabriel is going to win it next year. I saw the script. That's why. Definitely why. Speaking of the Heisman, Jaden Daniels wins it in what felt like a landslide, but they said was also like the closest Heisman race in like a decade. Did Michael Penix get robbed? That sounds like a make or miss question. Yeah, I think he did. I picked Michael Penix. And we will get into that one here at the top of the next hour, because I really want to deep dive into the Heisman. This is our short segment of the hour, so we'll skip that. But I do want to talk to you about this one, Brenden. And I promise you, I got to say this disclaimer. I am not trying to pour salt in the wound. I'm just trying to point out kind of the hypocrisy here, right? Because everybody is upset with the portal. And not everybody. It's like 50-50. Like, I find a lot of people who like the portal. Personally, I like the transfer portal. It does suck to lose players that you like wearing your uniform, but the fact that 3 of the 4 Heisman finalists were portal players, and the fact that Jaden Daniels was not going to sniff a Heisman at ASU, Bo Nix was not the same Bo Nix at Auburn, Michael Penix needed a full reset to become one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I like the portal. Let the guys get a chance. And why I like the portal is because no one acts as if there's a coach's portal. They just call it the coach's carousel. Let's give it a fun name. Well, according to Brett McMurphy, College Football Insider, here's one for you. There are 39 non-playoff bowls. This was his tweet from Thursday, I believe it was. There are 39 non-playoff bowls. Only 13 bowls did not have a team lose either its head coach, OC, DC, or starting quarterback to the transfer portal opt-out or injury. So let's just take away the transfer. That's a ton of teams losing coaches and OCs, right? And again, I'm not trying to pour salt in the wound. You just lost one. You just lost one.
You mean the turncoat?
I feel you.
No, Justin knows it's probably getting to the point of just pettiness. But yeah, I got like probably 2-3 months of
you're
like, go drop your clothes off at Goodwill. Mm-hmm.
You're mad petty, but I get it. It's cool.
With that being said, like I don't blame the players, Chris, for following who they went to play for and all that. I just save me your the Pac-12 didn't have any impact on me leaving, or I love Corvallis. Neither is true.
Yeah, just be honest. But
somebody got a good haul at Goodwill, Chris.
Hey, I don't know why you guys hate it. I would have bought that stuff. I would be your
Hey, I wasn't making a trip down for that.
That's sweet swag. That is sweet. Well, it's probably gone. It's probably gone.
Yeah.
That's sweet swag. I would have picked some up. But I'm just telling you, and granted, his numbers are including a couple teams who lost just their quarterback, but you can look at the carousel, coaches moving around with impunity. I don't see a problem with players doing it either. The only thing that does rub me a little bit wrong with the current state of the portal is the players who are like, okay, former Duck, Tyler Shuck, right? Don't like it in Oregon. I'm going to transfer to Texas Tech. Oh, guess what? After a couple years here, I don't like it at Texas Tech. I'm going to transfer to Louisville is where he's going now. Like, we are like this close, Brenden, like a smidge away from seeing a player with 4 years of eligibility wear 4 different uniforms. And that is a little odd to me. Maybe it's just because I'm a loyalist. I like commitment. I just like,
I totally hear you.
So that's me. That was our trip around campus. But we're not going to go too far from campus, Brenden. We got, the big 3 to get to. I know after my mess up last time that's in the 7 o'clock hour. Don't throw you off. And we're going to talk more about this Heisman race because I think a certain quarterback got robbed. Chris Burkhardt here with my man Brenden Slaughter. The Butcher and the Slaughter continues in just a few minutes right here on your home, the Blazers. Rip City Radio, 620.
what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
Hey there, Rip City. It is 7 o'clock in this nice dark morning here in Portland, because who likes sunlight in the Northwest? You know, daylight saving time and such. Boo. Plenty of news to get to, though. In college football, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels is your 2023 Heisman winner. He edged out Michael Penix, who finished second, and Oregon quarterback Bo Nix, who finished third. In basketball, LeBron James finally has that feather in his cap. He did something that Michael Jordan could only dream of. LeBron James won the NBA's in-season tournament. Good for him. Go LA. Also, Bronny James scored his very first points of his USC Trojan career, and as someone pointed out on Twitter, officially has more points than his dad did in college. Hey-o. Oh, and in Oregon Duck news, Dylan Gabriel is your new quarterback. He'll be under center for the Ducks next season. Hour 2 of the morning show starts now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Hey there, Portland listeners. Welcome into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Justin Myers this morning. And you can follow me on the X app at Chris J. Burkhardt, whereas I like to say we'll continue the conversation all afternoon long, all night long. You can send me any questions or comments you have, or like my man Tony in the YouTube chat, send me your family chili recipes. Give me something to cook. I got on the chat the other day, Brenden. I think it was during Rip City Drive while I was hosting. They're all talking about chili and making Rice Krispie treats and nonsense, and I put the kibosh on that. I said, new rule here. We cannot talk about food in the chat unless we're willing to drop recipes for people, because I like my food. So shout out to Tony, because he did. He sent me the recipe to the chili he was talking about. DM me on Twitter or the X app, whatever you want to call it. So follow us there. Send us your comments. And that is right. YouTube is up and running. So go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and you can watch us live every single morning from 6 to 9. You can also catch the Rip City Drive, the game day, the fifth quarter, Courtside Monday with yours truly. Plenty to get to. I did make a comment, too, about how, I apologize to all the board members at the OSAA, because I'm going to go into this meeting and they're going to be like, why does it smell like gasoline up in here? Like, I'm going to have to sit in a corner by myself. And the Fritz, as I like to call him in our chat, I won't give you his real name. He changed his handle, by the way. He doesn't like to go by his real name anymore. He'd like to be secretive. Smart play. He said that he'd rather smell gas than fish, which is, I believe, was a nod to the fact that Chad was not happy someone heated up fish in the microwave the other day.
There is,
like
other than
office faux pas number one, right? Like,
yeah, like honestly, I don't know. Justin and I have had this conversation many times. What a surprise, Justin and I get distracted talking about food or Lord knows what else. We have a great time here on Rip City Mornings. We have a good time in the mornings. But, Chris, there's probably not anything worse that you can put in a communal microwave than fish. And I'm curious your thoughts on this, being an Islander and probably having a lot of fish in your sphere.
I like fish.
Right? For me, and again, this is just how I grew up. My family, we did a lot of fishing, salmon, steelhead, halibut.
My gut tells me you're about to say what I'm thinking.
And for me, again, maybe this is a little snobby, I was taught to never put fish in a microwave. Like that just,
Hey.
yeah, like that's just, I've never made it that way. I've never seen anybody in my family, and believe me, we are fishers of men, folks. Out there in December when it's pouring down rain and rain gear, steelhead fishing. I haven't seen too much fish microwave.
I did some offshore fishing, some
there you go.
rockfish fishing over this. That was fun as heck.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
That was fun as heck.
Bottom
now,
fishing.
here's the thing, Brenden.
But no, have you microwave fish, Chris?
I have before, but not in the office. But here's the thing. Like, if I cooked a halibut or tilapia was one I used to eat all the time when I was prepping for fitness shows. It tastes better if I just eat it cold. Like it's like a French fry. Like if you don't eat all your French fries and you put them in a Tupperware container and you put them in the fridge, do you put them in the microwave? No, because they just taste like a soggy, nasty mess. Either just eat them cold or don't save them.
I mean, again, different tastes for different folks, and I'm not hating, but just like every time I hear like fish microwave, like the alarm bell goes off, and it's like Grandpa and Grandma and Debbie are like, what in the world are you guys doing?
There are some things that taste fine when you microwave them or as leftovers. And fish is, again, I think fish, like, I feel like it just doesn't taste the same if I microwave a fish leftover. But if I eat it cold, it doesn't have the same texture as that melt in your mouth, like hot off the pan, hot off the grill fish. But cold, it's still kind of fluffy, has good flavor. It doesn't ruin it. Also, fish, since you're a eater of fish in the family, a couple years ago, my wife bought me some like cedar planks, and you throw your salmon on the cedar plank and then throw that on the grill. Oh, that's money.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting because I know, like, for instance, another example, like they have forms of sushi, Chris, that are hot and served to you hot there. But like, would you go home and microwave like a spicy tuna roll?
Could you imagine?
Right? Like, no. I get it. Some fish is cold. That's a very specific example. But just imagine, folks. I've taken sushi home, eaten it the next day. It's great. Did I throw it in the microwave, Chris?
Hey, full disclosure too. You're talking about heating up the sushi roll. Well, that has raw fish in it. Now we're talking about two different things here, and that is the fact that like there is a difference. There is a big difference between heating up your leftovers in the microwave and cooking your fish in the microwave.
That's a good point.
Full. Like, let's just throw this one out there for all the listener. The microwave is for reheating. That is not for cooking. And I have seen people use it for cooking. I have watched people legit put raw meat in a microwave to cook it and then eat it like it was great. And I'm like, if you are eating that and you're using your microwave to cook your meat, you must think McDonald's be gourmet or something, because
you must have some good stories from the obviously we've got some good ones here from the break microwave here. I'm sure you got some good ones from your time at NBC. A lot of people coming and going there too, and yeah, it is interesting what some folk decide that they want to microwave, but hey, just all I ask is, if you want to eat in the morning, Chris, bring something that smells good. Like, shout out Tanner and Drew next to us on the brew. Every now and again, they'll grab some McDonald's, and I get the whiff of like an egg McMuffin in the hallway. Now that makes my morning.
Chad gets mad at me half the time because I'll bring in Dave's hot chicken. He's like, "Oh my gosh, that smells so good."
I mean, if the shoe fits, Dave's hot
Fritz wants to know
good.
if fishing is a workout. He says there's only a few fish that would be a workout. I'll tell you what, when I went offshore fishing and was doing the rockfish, I caught two at once every single time we cast because it was multiple lures, right? And when you got two good-sized rockfish and they're swimming in different, that was a workout.
Yeah, no,
I'll tell you what.
Bottom fishing's fun. No, I bet you had a lot of fun doing that.
First time I'd ever done it, man, I loved it. It was fun because this is the way I fish. I fish with my dad, and I 100%. My dad loves fishing. My dad ain't a fisherman, right? My dad is drinking on the shore, watching his fishing pole man.
Sure.
But he ain't a fisherman, and definitely not a catcherman, if that's a thing. I'm making up words here, but you get what I'm laying down.
Sure.
But when we got the charter and we were with the captain who knew what he was doing, we got fish on board, baby.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, especially when you're catching fish, and that's a big part of it. Like Chris said, they call it fishing, not catching. I know there is a big difference because Chris, I've gone on a charter boat where we've gone home and been like, yep, got bit a couple times, but man, when it's fun, I'll
tell you this much: I'm not a great fisherman, but I do love going because it's so damn relaxing. I don't care what anyone says. I don't even have to catch a fish that day.
Give you that for sure.
Sit there, grab a drink, whether it's a brew or a sparkling water, whatever the heck you want to drink. It could just be regular water. I don't care. But with your buddies, your dad, your gramps, just share stories all day. It's the absolute best. All right, speaking of best, it's time for what is not my favorite segment, but it might be the best one. The Big Three. with a car out of gas, hazard lights on. That's right. That was me this morning at 5:30, calling the great Brenden Slaughter for help. Welcome back into Riff City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Justin Myers today, and gonna have a little bit of fun. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you'd like to call it, over there at Chris J. Burkhardt. And like I said, continue the conversation all night long and afternoon. Like I said, all night long. It's middle of the morning still, Burkhardt. Figure it out.
Your clock is just a little
it's all
little
messed
twisted.
I mean, when you look outside and it's dark, I feel like it's nighttime, and I'm only used to being in here late at night because of the fifth quarter and game day. So it's just, it messes with you. Especially
you work opposite of what we
absolutely.
Like this is direct. Like, I hope you all realize, like, let's just take a minute. Like, again, I'm very routine based and kind of set my ways, and I love this job because it's the same time every single day, Monday through Friday. It works with my other job. Take a credit to Chris, folks, because not only is he filling in for Justin, who, as he mentioned, is getting a well-deserved time off. Also jealous of being over in Bend. That sounds like a lot of fun right now. But yeah, like Chris, folks, like tonight, like tell the listening audience what your day's gonna it starts here.
Well,
but
no,
tell them what your day's gonna be like.
On a normal day, I get lucky today, thanks to Michael Shacker. But I was like, oh, there's a Blazer game tonight. Oh, I'm the producer of Game Day in the fifth quarter, so I'm gonna be here till midnight. Luckily, Shacker's filling in tonight. However, there have been days on a normal Monday, Brenden, if there's not a Blazer game, I still have to come back because I have courtside at 6:00. So I do this, go to my other job, and then come right back here. It's long days, but it's fun. Like I told Brenden, I didn't even tell the best part of the running out of gas story this morning and why I actually think I did run out of gas. It's because I am sleep deprived for this 6:00 show, which, like I said, I left my house at 4:45. I went to bed at 1. Like 3 hours of sleep. The funny part is, like, I'm so used to it from traveling with the Blazers for so many years. Like, there was so many nights on the road, Brenden. I'm like, oh, I just got to my hotel at 2:00. My flight leaves at 6, which means I got to be at the airport at 5. Yeah, I'm not going to go to bed because I don't think I'll be able to wake up when my alarm goes off. So,
Were you, and this may be a silly question, but were you always flying commercially, or were there ever times you got to get on the old team plane?
No, sir. Only Southwest Airlines.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was always curious and so it's just the, like, Casey Holdalls of the world who are on that team plane, I'm assuming. Because I'm always like, man, or, our good buddy Travis Demers, like, it must be nice just to be able to show up to the airport and just, like, walk across the tarmac, you know what I mean, rather than go through security, all those.
I asked that to Chad the other day. I said I've only flown charter once, and that was to the Rose Bowl for the 2010 season. So 2009 season. So the 2010 Rose Bowl against Ohio State. The band went down. Yeah, we flew charter, and that is nice to just walk on to the plane. Like no security, not through the airport. You just tarmac, plane.
There was one time in college where, and it's the only time I've ever seen the great, because usually, as Chris mentioned, it's pretty kept for team personnel. There was a time in college where when Oregon State went to the Final Four in women's basketball, maybe it was the Elite Eight, one of the two, they extended it to the media that were covering the team. They're like, hey, if you guys pay so-and-so, which was a very reasonable rate to fly private, you know what I mean?
Right.
You could come. It didn't work out for me for other schedules, but I knew a couple people that did, and, it's, I feel like it's got to be kind of cool to do that. But nevertheless, off topic, back to what Chris was saying.
Yeah, man. Hey, and Tony asked, did we make it on time? And we did. I
didn't even have to speed or nothing, man. Nope. I had time to go to 2 different gas stations, have a nice conversation with the attendant about why I was buying the gas station can that morning. He was probably thinking I had some issues. Yeah. But, it's like Chris said, all considering, folks, like this is you'd have blackjack. You're sitting at a blackjack table. We got dealt 5, and somehow we're sitting at 20. Yeah. So it's been a good morning, man.
Yeah, and he said, Tony says, so you just lost out on prep time. And the funny part about that, Tony, is especially when you're driving in for about a half hour to get in here and you're alone in your car or waiting on the side of I-5 waiting for your producer to come get you, you have a lot of solo prep time anyway.
Yeah,
so I knew exactly what we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, as soon as Chris told me, because I'm almost to where I start on 99 and start turning towards the studio, he calls me, he goes, all right, I need you to come get me. And in my head, I go, okay. Start making up the make or misses in my head. Start making up some of the things I want to talk about in my head. And, the 10 minutes it took me to get over to Chris, all we needed, baby.
True pros, baby.
Yep,
True pros.
You know it.
We made it. All right, Brenden, I always love filling in because two of my favorite segments are the ones where I have no idea what you're going to ask me, and we just go off the cuff and just say what we feel. And this is one of them. It is time for Make or Miss.
It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good. Oh my goodness! Oh, and a big miss.
It's Make or Miss here on RCM.
All right, one of the few make or misses that we added in this morning on the way. Up first, Chris. The Chiefs are going to have a really hard time not cutting Kadarius Toney.
Not cutting him, is that going to be hard? No, I think that's a miss. I think you have to keep him because you pointed out earlier, it's not like their wide receiver room is stacked.
So for lack of better options.
This is the tough part that happens, Brenden, when you invest in a good quarterback, you have a good tight end, you try to invest in defense in your own line. I mean, they lost a guy like Tyreek Hill, and that guy's phenomenal, right? He's a true wide receiver one. I think the hard part for Kansas City is, do they have a wide receiver one?
They don't.
They have multiple like wide receiver threes. I
asked this to Justin a while back, and for a while it looked like, maybe both were kind of winning. But knowing what we know now, Chris, like there could have been ways to make it happen, right? There are teams that have a high-paid quarterback and a high-paid receiver. Do they regret trading Tyreek Hill? Because they could have paid him and moved money around just like any other team. Bengals are paying Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase just like, it is possible. Maybe they couldn't have played Chris Jones, their defensive lineman, as much money as they did should they pay Tyreek Hill. But just knowing about that, I know they won a Super Bowl without him. But do you think they regret moving off of Tyreek Hill? Or do you think any serviceable wide receiver one would have done in this case? Give them a Brandon Cooks.
I think a good serviceable true wide receiver one option helps because every great quarterback has had those, right? I mean, yeah, he's not like the greatest wide receiver of all time, but it's like Tom Brady had Wes Welker, and Wes Welker had a run where he was real good, like real good, right?
He was a great postseason player, but would you call Julian Edelman elite?
I don't know if he was an elite receiver, but there was a moment where he filled out that wide receiver, like main wide receiver role really well.
Like that year was
Tom
what?
Brady.
Gronkowski. I mean, Gronk helps.
See, but yeah, you have Gronk, who is a great target, and that's the thing with Kansas City. I mean, Travis Kelce is their best receiver.
Yes,
but he's a tight end, and actually, I think that's one thing that has helped San Francisco, especially with Purdy, is they did well in the draft to get Debo. They got Brandon Ayuk, who's become a great great receiver as well. But there was a small moment in time there where they had like Garoppolo and multiple other guys, but George Kittle was their best receiver, and I love George Kittle as much as the next guy, but I just don't think any really really good offense wants a tight end to be their number one receiver. Like and I'm not even talking like, was he leading the team in catches or yards or anything? Like, it was just, he was their best pass catcher, hands down. And that's how you got with Kelce. They just need a true extra threat, I think. The offense is so good because Patrick Mahomes is so good.
Yeah, I think the only way that you can make that work, and it really hasn't been done because nobody, and probably nobody will, for how the tight end position is valued now, Chris, like the only time it's ever worked, and I think it might have been when Wes Welker was still there, but might have been near his tail end again. Tom Brady was the best at it, and that's what they're trying to do with Mahomes, right? Tom Brady made Chris Hogan look good. Tom Brady made Philip Dorsett look good. I mean, add in more and more guys that were in there in New England who, for lack of better terms, went elsewhere and were terrible. So that's no disrespect. It's just Brady makes guys better. But the only way I think you could run an offense entirely through your tight ends, Chris, is if you were the Patriots, and you had Rob Gronkowski and that other guy we don't talk about anymore. Like when they had both of those guys who were tight end ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And they also, but he also got really good production out of Randy Moss, too. So.
Exactly. So, again, has anybody ever had two tight ends like they had that year, Chris? Yeah. I don't think so.
And again, that's the Chiefs' biggest knock. And it will be interesting here with, my favorite team being the 49ers, because they're in the perfect spot right now, and they better win a Super Bowl this year or the next, because
I like their chances.
When you have to decide to pay Brock Purdy money, you also have to decide who's no longer going to be on your roster. You cannot pay Warner, and Bosa and Armstead and now Chase Young and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Trent Williams and Brock Purdy. That's a lot.
It hasn't necessarily been proven yet, Chris, but is there a theory that, and again, the Seahawks did prove it, but nobody else since really has, and if anyone has, quote me if I'm wrong. I still think, Chris, the best pathway to a championship, and the 49ers are in it right now, if you can find a quarterback and say, very much, I think it'd be too radical for this to ever take off in the NFL. But if you were a coach like a Kyle Shanahan, like a John Harbaugh, a Mike Tomlin even, someone who had as much cachet as he needed. Imagine, Chris, if you started doing with quarterbacks what they do with running backs and always keeping the quarterback on that rookie scale salary and building/beefing up the rest of your team elsewhere. The Seahawks, they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. Was a big part of that because Russell Wilson made basically no money both years? You have to think so.
Oh, without a doubt. The greatest asset in the NFL is a quarterback who plays very, very well on a rookie scale deal.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that it can't work the other way. Matthew Stafford was paid a whole bunch of money. The Rams, basically sold everything but SoFi Stadium to win a ring, and they did. And there's more than one way to roll those dice, so to speak. But I'm just thinking, if the 49ers win this year, Chris, with Mr. Irrelevant, and I don't mean that as a dig, unlike maybe he's come around, but I know our good friend Chad Ewing wasn't the biggest Brock Purdy believer in the world. Maybe he has now. Pretty hard not to believe. But if they were to win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy this year, who's to say that more teams won't go, all right, we'll take a chance on this rookie, beef up the rest of this team, and just take our shot for 4 years.
That's it. It's a good way to go. But then you're gonna have to pay him. Because here's the thing: if Brock Purdy wins you a Super Bowl, you have to give him money because you can't let him go. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just the nature of the beast. The thing is, though, Brenden, is they need to stop throwing out these. I'm using an NBA term here, but these max deals at every single quarterback just because his rookie scale deal's done and he played well, or he's a free agent, we need a quarterback. There is zero reason, game film or otherwise, that Deshaun Watson should have been the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Really?
He led the league in passing in a COVID year, and that's pretty much his.
But did anybody I'm not even okay, off the field stuff aside, right?
Yes.
Just watching him in Houston, you're did anyone think that Deshaun Watson was the best or top 5 quarterback in the NFL? I don't think so. Not in a moment in time where Tom Brady was still balling out. You had Aaron Rodgers. You had Patrick Mahomes.
Not the best.
Russell Wilson.
You could convince me. Let's go back to that year real quick, Chris. Just because, again, I do think it's hard because I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think he's a good human being, so that has impacted all of us in our thoughts of him these last couple years. However, when you realize, Chris, that he, in 2020, played all 16 games, threw for almost 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns against 7 picks, and then had 6 rushing touchdowns, you could have made the case to me that he could have been pushing top 5 that year. If you don't see it that way, I'm not going to argue against you, but you could case to me that year he was pretty good. I remember watching him play. Now, giving him the guarantees that happened, Chris, that was 100% the fact that the Cleveland Browns are maybe the most franchise quarterback desperate team in the NFL, and they knew, well, if we give this guy this much. But we've seen since better quarterbacks who have not got that many guarantees. Deshaun Watson was the exception, not the rule. And I think NFL owners collectively were like, look at Jalen Hurts, look at Justin Herbert, look at Joe Burrow. They were like, we're not giving you $250 guaranteed.
And look at all those guys that I would rather have
100%.
Instead of Deshaun Watson.
100%. But in 2020, I wouldn't have taken Joe Burrow. I think he was coming off an ACL at the time. I wouldn't have necessarily taken Jalen Hurts, who hadn't popped yet. I don't even know if he had been named starter yet.
See, but you're going against your own logic here. Because you would have taken Burrow or Hurts. You want to take the guy on the young deal.
This is true. This is true. So, it's I would have never paid Deshaun Watson that much. Is it easy to squint and look at the talent? Sure, but nevertheless. Let's go ahead and move on to another make or miss, Chris. One that I'm really curious to get your thoughts on, especially with their win yesterday. They remain a long shot at best, but I just have to know your thoughts on this. No way Aaron Rodgers plays for the Jets this season, right?
Wow. I think if you play him, then you've made one of the dumbest decisions in football history.
Because they have technically, Chris, as crazy as it sounds, after they had a blowout win yesterday, have not been eliminated.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers is already fighting the battle against Father Time. That battle is now shortened due to the fact he's coming off a catastrophic Achilles injury. I am not risking whatever small window I have with him in the future to maybe limp into the playoffs. No pun intended on limp, right? Also, I'm really wondering what's going on here because please don't feed me some nonsense that of the 8 billion people on this planet, Aaron Rodgers is the only one that actually has superpowers and recovers from a blown Achilles.
And Tom Brady.
Yeah. Tom Brady didn't recover from an Achilles tear at like 30% of the time.
You're right. He didn't need to tear one.
Yeah, right. So, I mean,
it'd be crazy if he played, right?
It would be crazy. Now the Jets are a terribly, inept franchise, so it wouldn't surprise me. Like, oh, let's go risk it. But I think it would be stupid. I think it'd be stupid. 5-8, definitely on the outside looking in. Rush that back just for anything bad to happen. I get it. It's hard. It's Aaron Rodgers. Again, say what you will about him on a personal level, but that's a guy you want slinging the rock for you. He's really good at playing quarterback. I don't know if it's worth the risk. I just don't. All right, what else you got?
To another one, Chris. Up next on Maker. Oh, this is one that just needs to be given credit to. The fact that Trevor Lawrence played football yesterday is an insane story.
Maybe. I mean, he got rolled up on pretty good. He did get rolled up on pretty good, and the injury looked far worse than it ended up being. A testament to him and his ability to get out there. Having young legs helps. Again, that's the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Aaron Rodgers. One dude's 40, the other dude is in his early 20s. I mean,
the only thing, Justin and I were talking about it a little bit last week, and the we didn't think he'd play, obviously, and we immediately, when it got diagnosed as a high ankle sprain, you're just kind of shocked. Chris, I'm curious.
Nothing a little Toradol won't help.
It could be found in these parts, just reports. But no, going back to that, Chris, I mentioned to Justin, there were two examples in my time that I remember where it looks like usually when an injury looks bad, 99.9% of the time it is bad.
Yeah.
There are two examples I can think of where it wasn't. I believe it was last year or the year before. Giannis Antetokounmpo hyperextended his knee, and everyone was like, oh, man, Giannis blew out his knee. It was bad. Just hyperextended it. Second time, when our very own Wesley Matthews back in Portland, probably about a decade ago, hyperextended his knee, went to the locker room. Everybody thought it was doom and gloom. He ends up coming jogging back. The sad part of that story is he would pop his Achilles like a month later, but, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But,
when Paul Pierce got wheeled off in a wheelchair to go to the bathroom.
It just, I could not believe that Trevor Lawrence got out there and played football yesterday, because that was one of the craziest injury plays that I had seen. And again, Chris, we've seen high ankle sprains take guys out for like months.
High ankle sprains they're
and he's out there, so
they're nothing to be
like
messed
you said,
with.
Toradol, I guess.
Yeah, they're nothing to be messed with. A little bit of painkillers, get out there. Yeah, it's just all you're doing is more damage. Who cares? It's all good.
Who cares? Franchise quarterback. Who cares?
Speaking of quarterbacks, though, you can bring it full circle. The fact that we talk about paying your quarterback way too much money, and the Browns rolled out there and beat the Jaguars with 311 yards passing and 3 touchdowns from 38-year-old Joe Flacco.
Super Bowl champ, baby.
That makes the Deshaun Watson hire even worse because Joe Flacco is outplaying the man. All right, I got to take a quick break here on the morning show. When we come back, it is time for Who Won the Weekend. Chris Burkhardt here with Brenden Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Hey, this is Justin Myers here to tell you about DeBella. They are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. And we all know Portland weather can be brutal. This winter might even be colder than last year. And you can save up to 30% on your energy bills with DeBella. That's right. They take care of your roofing, windows, all your siding renovations. And if your roof is leaking or just aging, you can get a free quote from my friends at DeBella.
Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Justin Myers today. And you can join the chat with us, guys. This isn't a call-in show, but you can still join. You know how? YouTube.com. Type in Rip City Radio. Take you right to our page where you can join the live chat right now with Larry and the Fritz and Tony K. Shout out to those guys because they're keeping the chat popping. Some good content. More people in there, more great combo, baby.
I also appreciate, Chris, not to toot my own horn, but when any of our listeners call me Superman for my efforts this morning, I will always appreciate that. So that is well said, and I thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see, when the YouTube comments are a positive, happy place, Chris, it makes for a great show.
Yeah. Larry's pointing out how well is Burrow, Herbert, and Allen playing with their new contracts this season. Well, yeah,
a very fair point, Larry.
I mean, that's the crazy.
What did I just say, man?
It's the crazy part, right? Like I said, the greatest asset in the NFL right now is a quarterback playing well on a rookie scale deal. That is the greatest asset you can have. Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, Burrow's a little injury plagued. Herbert's dealing with a ton of injuries to his hand.
His coach also sucks.
Yeah, his coach is terrible. He broke his index finger on his throwing hand yesterday.
He might be done for the year.
And you can literally make a compilation of all the wide receiver drops that his team has. And Josh Allen, I think, is still a very good quarterback, but I think he's also regressed just a little bit.
He does lead the league in picks. I'm pretty sure.
He's still talented, but
like as a wild card team, would he scare me? Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But
you also know that you can best him on a good day. And
not to mention, like Justin and I were talking about, really bad week to be in the Bills organization last week.
Yes.
We talked about that very briefly on Friday. I was impressed. I thought there was a chance that maybe Buffalo would come out flat after that, and credit to him for moving on, because Justin and I said in Make or Miss on Friday, Chris, that was the most bizarre thing that we had heard in some time. So we'll leave it at that.
Here's the thing, man. NFL coaches always looking for that soundbite they're going to try to inspire their team. And sometimes you're just not really good at finding that analogy and that metaphor. And you bring one together that you definitely shouldn't have. Yeah. Like,
if you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Sean McDermott. It will come up.
You'll come up.
You'll find it. But yes, good to know that he was able to move past that, because that was very, very bad.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like when I was talking about leadership and coming together, I wouldn't use his reference, but I would be corny. I'd be like, Master Splinter got 4 turtles to become ninja masters.
Oh, right.
And if he could do that, and Leonardo and Michelangelo, Donatello and Raphael can beat Shredder, we can beat the Giants.
I mean, that would work. I would just cue up the Kurt Russell speech from is it not Greater? Miracle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know people were screaming, but yes, cue up the Kurt Russell speech. 9 times out of 10, they'll beat us. Not tonight.
There you go.
So that's my motivation.
And then when you lose, you go to the great Vince Lombardi quote, which is, the Green Bay Packers never lost a game. They just ran out of time.
I love it.
All right, there is plenty going on this weekend, Brenden. It is time for Who Won the Weekend.
Perhaps you were afraid of meeting any real competition face to face.
Now I realize I had a chance to win the war.
That I'm the man that stands tall, and I'm the man that stands proud.
There can be many contenders, but only one can be crowned champion. It's time for Who Won the Weekend.
All right, well, there's candidates. There's also an obvious winner. So what's what we're going to do? We're going to give out the winner award right now. The winner is Brenden. I'm counting Monday morning as part of the weekend just for our purposes here. He won by coming in and saving me from the side of I-5 in my greatest moment of radio need. Brenden won the weekend. He's going to get paid all $25 of that overpriced gas can he had to buy, the 2 gallons of gas, and he's probably going to get some dinner money chipped in there as well. So he won. Now on the sports front, though, we're going to see who came in second. And there's 3 candidates. Candidate number 1, the Oregon Ducks. They won the weekend with the announcement that Dylan Gabriel will now be their quarterback going into next season. The Oklahoma slinger decided to join the transfer portal, and now he gets to follow up Bo Nix. And those are big shoes to fill because, granted, Bo Nix did not win the Heisman, but coming in third and even being one of the finalists represented is pretty awesome. So big shoes to fill there for Dylan Gabriel. The other contender for who won the weekend is LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, who won the inaugural in-season tournament, besting Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. And there were some people knocking it, but it looked like they were having fun and they were playing an important game before Christmas, when the biggest running joke in the NBA has been, there's no good basketball till after Christmas. So for those of you who want to dog it, I will dog those courts because I do think they're terrible.
Agree wholeheartedly.
And I dogged the in-season tournament all leading up to it because I'm like, they're trying to make it important. And they still are, which I think is corny, but it popped. It did well. People watched it. That's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, and I was from the beginning, like, kudos. Would I have cared more if the Trailblazers were deeper in it? Probably. I'm with Chris. The courts were an absolute eyesore. I know you'd never hear that coming from me. I'm usually the, woo, fun courts, fun uniforms. It just was kind of an eyesore to me. If anything, Chris, I like how big-time moments make big-time players, and very much like it's unfortunate because he was never able to recapture it, but how a few players during the bubble really broke out, and you're like, wow.
T.J.
okay.
Warren.
Right. And it's a shame he's had injuries and wasn't able to recapture it. But could the bigger story, Chris, out of this be, again, kudos to LeBron, great for his legacy, I'll give him dap. Could the bigger story out of this be, Tyrese Halliburton might be the next, he might be better than a franchise point guard. He could be MVP level Chris.
He's in the conversation right now.
He is a stud, and we talked about it last week. I know the Kings like Sabonis. Will they regret that move down the line?
They're not going to regret that move. They're going to regret trading the wrong guard.
Ooh, there it is.
They're going to regret trading. And that's not a knock on Fox. Fox is good, too, but Tyrese Halliburton's playing like an MVP. The final candidate, Brenden, is obviously Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy this weekend, besting Michael Penix and Bo Nix. And when those are your 3 nominees, there can only be one winner. And the winner of the weekend comes out of left field, and it's J.J. McCarthy, because somehow that guy got a single first-place vote in the Heisman race. And this is why you can't take these darn awards seriously.
It's true.
Of
like
all
we said
the
earlier,
players in the
subjective
country,
votes.
All the players in the country, you voted J.J. McCarthy. Come on. Come on. Some people need to get their votes revoked. All right, we're going to take a break here. We got 1 more hour to go. I'm on 3 hours of sleep, but I'm feeling fine because the gas tank is, got some fuel in there. Finally, yes, I'm not running on empty. Chris Burkhardt here with Brenden Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
sports you need to know. From the Goldberg-Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg-Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
Hey there, Rip City. It is 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're not running on fumes here at Rip City Mornings. And we got plenty of sports to get to, though. First off, let's start in the NBA, where LeBron James did what Michael Jordan could only wish to do, and that was win the inaugural in-season tournament as the Los Angeles Lakers bested the Indiana Pacers. But as Brenden pointed out, we are watching a star in the making, because Tyrese Halliburton definitely in the MVP conversation, and he's playing as good a basketball as anybody. But in the tournament that everyone said was not going to be a thing, hey, it did well. People enjoyed it. The Lakers won, so the NBA is probably happy. In college football, former Arizona State Sun Devil and current LSU Tiger Jaden Daniels wins the 2023 Heisman, besting Michael Penix, who finished second, and Oregon's Bo Nix, who finished third. The third hour of Rip City Mornings with Chris Burkhardt filling in for Justin Myers starts now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The most transparent show in Portland is Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers, here on 620 Rip City Radio.
Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with my man Brenden Slaughter, my savior, my knight in shining armor, a shining Toyota or whatever it is he drives. Some nice sedan pulling up behind me.
Honda.
There you go. Whatever it was, it was a glorious sedan.
A non-American car brand.
Glorious sedan with its hazards on right behind me, because for those of you just tuning in, I did the unthinkable. I ran out of gas on the way into the show this morning. First time I've ever ran out of gas. I called my wife just a second ago during the break, now that she's awake, and filled her in, and she looks at me and she goes, "Are you done playing Russian roulette with the gas tank, babe?" She hates that I let it go down that far. Oh, man. What a day. I said we need a new segment on this show. It's Manic Monday. It's Manic Monday. Tony does ask, he's like, "Chris, you're on 3 hours of sleep. Didn't you know you had to cover for Justin today, or was it a surprise?" I'm like, "No, I knew. I also had work to do. I work multiple jobs, and sometimes you get busy. I was out there editing articles for good old Nerd Wallet until 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to get my job done. I'm a dad, Tony. Constant state of fatigue, even when I get a lot of rest. It just is how it is. All right, one thing we haven't really dove into yet, Brenden, and we'll do so now, is the aforementioned NBA in-season tournament. Crazy little thing going on there. You had tournament games that were part of the regular season, but they were also part of the tournament, and depending on how you did, then you got a couple games added to your schedule, like the Blazers did with the Warriors and the Mavericks. And then you had the championship game here between the Lakers and the Pacers that didn't actually count. Like, it counted, but it didn't count, because it does, like, the stats, the win-loss, none of it counts. It was a strictly tournament championship game. The 20 points by Tyrese Halliburton, the 24 by LeBron James, those are not factored into their season averages. The victory for the Lakers, that is not factored into the actual regular season standings. This was, for all intents and purposes, an exhibition with a trophy on the line. But the NBA, they pushed it. They absolutely pushed it like crazy on us, right? The in-season tournament, to the point that where people are even, the IST. Okay, cool. Whatever that means. But it worked, I think. I think the semifinals were weird because I was watching them on TV, and I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing from a production standpoint. They had TNT and ESPN doing the dual in-screen thing to make it seem huge. Because, look, we're having our two premiere shows, and we're on different stations, but we're doing this together because it's the in-season tournament. It's big. It's bad. Like I told Dwight, like, I honestly, like, was confused for a second. I looked up. I thought I was watching, like, a replay from, like, the NBA Finals. Like, they put time and effort into it. And then they had everybody outside the stadium right behind the tables there, behind the broadcast tables. But they kind of put them in, like, a small spot, so it made it just look like there was a ton of people, right? And there was. I mean, probably, a couple 100,000 people behind them. But still, put it into a situation where almost like a forced perspective. Everything just looked bigger. So that was good. But you could tell numbers-wise they didn't do great inside the stadium for various reasons. First off, whenever they showed the baseline cam, you could tell that the opposite baseline, there was multiple sections tarped off with the red and blue tarps, right? You could tell that the upper decks were fairly empty. And they did like Madison Square Garden type lighting, but exaggerated, where the only light is on the hardwood, not in the stands. So you can't really count how many people are in there. Then they had those fancy wristbands that light up with the music and stuff. Like you've probably seen if you've been to a playoff game at Moda and they go red, white, and blue when you're doing the national anthem and stuff. They had those, but they also, you could tell that like they had them like wrapped around the railings on the stairs. So like the whole stadium would light up when they were supposed to, but you'd only see it kind of speckled throughout the stands, like with the fans. So I don't know how they did from a fan perspective, but from a presentation on TV and getting people to watch from their home, I think they did well. Because if you watch social media, everyone was talking about it for like good, bad, or otherwise, right? People were talking about it. I know Brenden is a techie guy and a business guy, and he knows like there is no such thing as bad publicity, right? If people are talking about it, they're talking about it, right? Now there truly can be bad publicity, right? But in this instant, if you're saying, oh, I don't like the in-season tournament, okay, if you're talking about it, there's only one way for you to talk about what happened in the game, Brenden. That's to watch it. So if you didn't like the tournament, or for you and I, who neither one of us really like the courts, we still consume the product.
I'll be perfectly honest. I caught more on box scores than I did watch in person, especially Saturday night. I can't actually remember Saturday night I was preoccupied with something else. Didn't actually get to watch the game itself, but I'm a stat nerd. I love, reading games and, getting the reactions and whatnot. And as Chris mentioned, like, kudos to LeBron, but I think we're watching the next star being born in the same way that kind of it started to click. Like, I know he's in timeout right now, but the same way that John Morant just popped and trying to get a finger snap, if you can hear it over the radio, not snapping at the moment. Might still be the gas on the hands, Chris. Hard to say. No, just kidding. But just seems like this is like his coming out party. And we mentioned it briefly to close out the last hour. If the Kings could go back and do it over again, Chris, is De'Aaron Fox the one on the move, not Tyrese Halliburton?
I don't know. In that moment in time, Fox, he's still a good young guard. It's not like he's bad, but
not a knock on him at all. But
I'm
sure
they wish they had Tyrese Halliburton, because the way he's playing, he's a legit contender. I personally think right now the MVP is Luka Doncic. I think he's been playing some of the best basketball in the NBA this year. But you got Jokic's in the conversations, right? The Embiids, the Giannis's, and then you start getting the Halliburtons. Like Halliburton's, he's in this combo right now. He's playing insane basketball. You know who else is playing incredibly well? And it's actually someone made this comp the other day, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? People point out, look at his rookie year in LA, where you saw flashes of his greatness, but it was still a raw game. I think he averaged 10 points and 3 assists.
Look.
And those are Scoot Henderson numbers right now. And everyone, you see kind of flashes of Scoot Henderson's ability to go do his things, but there's still a lot of rawness there. And right now, SGA is averaging 38-6 or something insane. Like, he's off the walls good.
Yeah, 32-6-5.
32-6-5. Okay, I was close.
No,
that was close for off the top of the head.
Plus, add in another almost 2 steals a game, and for how tall he is, almost a block a game too.
Yeah, he's one of the best guards in the game. He might be a top 5 player in the league.
And if you were the Clippers, if you had just stayed patient, Shai Gilgeous and Kawhi Leonard probably has a higher ceiling than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Would be dirty.
So
dirty. Paul George is still good. He's just not the Paul George
so there's
of old,
that theory that you just never really know. And I think that's why you saw, the Blazers hesitant to ever going back to this last year when all the people who were like, oh, you should have traded Scoot for a pick or a player, or rather not a pick, traded Scoot for a player to help out Dame immediately. Well, yes, but then there was always the risk that still didn't work out by, it hasn't worked out for the Clippers, and then you go watch that dude star for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. It's Chris, like you this morning, it is a roll of the dice to see if there's enough pings in that car to get you to your destination.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so SGA is great. Tyrese Halliburton's playing great, but LeBron James got the trophy, man. And you know what's interesting about LeBron, and I know people want to debate who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? Now, for my money, because I watched him play, and a lot of people who were around, I still think it's MJ. MJ was incredible. One thing we didn't get to see MJ do, though, Brenden, and go back to his last year in Washington, he still was good. Like, he was good. He averaged 20-something points, could still go get a bucket. But I don't think we got to see him just dominate at the end like LeBron is. Like, LeBron is still just going ham, right? So same age, his first year with Washington, MJ was 38. 3 years retired, comes in, averages 23 points per game. LeBron is like just going nuts right now. He's averaging 25, 7.5 rebounds, 6.6 assists, shooting 55% of the floor. And every once in a while he knows, okay, I got to turn it on, and then he just dominates games. He can turn the clock back. It's insanity what this guy's doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, longevity, I mean, again, I'm with you, right? I wasn't around. You know, I think I was, let's see if I'm doing the math correctly. I was technically alive for the end of Jordan's second three-peat, so that gives me some credibility. Space Jam was my favorite movie growing up, so I loved Michael Jordan. The second one sucked. Sorry, LeBron.
The first one is subjectively awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great either.
No, here's the deal. I love the movie. I grew up with it. Nostalgia pop every time. It's a bad movie.
Oh, that opening scene, though, when the dad's telling him to go to bed and you hear "Fly Like an Eagle."
Oh, yeah.
I know. Like, Chris,
No,
all the
cheesy.
nostalgia.
Nostalgia
but you're
pop.
right. It's not
like it a
it's not
lot.
a very
Like,
good movie.
I enjoy Space Jam because, again, nostalgia pop. But
Yeah.
just ranking a movie as a critic,
It's not one
a
of the greatest.
bad movie.
If you think that's a bad movie, so does then the second Space Jam become awful then?
Oh, it's atrocious.
Okay, good. At least we can differentiate there.
Nobody in Portland would even watch that thing if it wasn't for, Time Lord Dame
It's
being
true.
in it.
It's true, right? But yeah, no, I think for my money, and again, it's simply for the fact that when it got to it's like me with Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's the greatest because he's won the most. Not to say that, Bill Russell by that metric isn't the greatest for me in the NBA, but like the fact that Jordan went 6 for 6, that means something to me. To like never have a loss. Granted, he only got there 6 times, but every time he got there, he came home with the ring.
Well, hey, if Justin were here right now, he would look you dead in the eye and say, "Winners get sprinkles."
He would? Darn right he would, man. Darn right he would.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, you talk about MJ. I mean, those years in Washington, those were 35, 36-win teams. They weren't great. LeBron is playing on a team right now that has still championship aspirations. Now, if MJ was playing with, Anthony Davis by his side in Washington, they might have been in the conversation too. I'm not knocking MJ's greatness at all. I just think LeBron right now, man, his longevity to come in right out of high school, do this thing, and just play at such a high level. Like, you could talk about MJ versus LeBron until the cows come home. The one thing I just don't think you can do with a straight face and be taken as an honest basketball fan or hoop head or even analysis is to make your argument for MJ by discrediting LeBron. LeBron is super, super special, man. And I feel like sometimes people want to hate on him because he has been so good for so long, or to hate on him to prove that MJ was better, and then you forget that you're witnessing greatness. Like, who's going to be the next LeBron? It's going to be interesting. Everybody is, he could be the next Jordan, the next Jordan, the next Jordan. When we start having that conversation of who's the next LeBron is, it's going to be pretty crazy. Because LeBron, as much as I don't like the Lakers growing up as a Portland fan, and as much as LeBron is not my favorite player in the league right now, he's great. And you just got to start, you got to respect that. MJ's still my GOAT. But if you think LeBron over MJ, you're not wrong. You definitely have an argument. All right, going to take a quick break here on The Big Show. When we come back, who knows what we'll talk about. We're going to play this thing crazy because that's the type of morning we had. That was an omen for the rest of the day, baby. We're going to fly by the seat of our pants. Chris Burkhardt here with Brenden Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Justin Myers this morning. He's out partying, doing his thing. I don't even know what that is, but, he's having fun. You got me here with my man, Brenden Slaughter. You can follow us both on Twitter. Keep the conversation going all day long. Have a little bit of fun. Like I said, be like Tony. Send me your chili recipes or whatever have you. Like, hey, Burkhardt, family recipe. You got to try it. Do it. Because I like food. Food is good. Facts only. Hey, looking at the chat real quick, catch back up here. Got to go to that tab, but it does look like we did have a question there. And Fritz was asking, who is more underestimated, Halliburton or Kamara? Here's the thing. I actually do not think Halliburton was underestimated. I think he was a good young piece, and that is what it took to go get Domantas Sabonis, who isn't playing at an MVP level right now like Halliburton is. However, was exactly what the Kings needed because it helped them end a 16-year playoff drought. So, I mean, they had to give up a piece to get him. I don't think he was underestimated. I think the Kings knew what they had, and it was going to take a nice young piece to get Sabonis. And the Pacers knew what he could be, and they wanted a player of his caliber to part with Sabonis. So I don't know if he was underestimated. I also don't know if Kamara was underestimated. Like, Kamara is playing really, really well right now. But it's also a team that's rebuilding, a team that can afford to play him. If Kamara is on the Bucks, is he seeing the floor? Maybe. I don't know. I think Kamara is a tough one because I think that's still a wait and see. But no, I don't think Halliburton was underestimated. I think the Pacers understood there was value there, and the Kings understood that they were going to have to get rid of a nice young piece if they wanted Sabonis. Tough one. But I get the question there. I'm not taking the cop-out answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting because, like I said before, like if you could go back with the benefit of hindsight, I mean, you kind of knew right away. Like, for instance, here's how I would describe it, Chris. Like right now, the Blazers, even still, maybe a little guard heavy, right? With, Brogdon, Simon, Sharp, Scoot, and then, more guys that maybe need to get in the rotation or not. But like, it would be the equivalent of like, say the Blazers get like the top pick this year and draft who they think the first pick's going to be is Isaiah Collier out of USC, right? Big, 6'4", 6'5" point guard they think's going to be maybe the next Harden. It'd be like the Blazers drafting a guard high, like they did with Halliburton, and then looking around going, well, one of you guys has to go. And then taking that elite player and turning him into a front court player. We talked about last week how it could be a rare win-win for both sides, but if the Kings don't get better defensively, which, again, Sabonis' strong suit is not defense.
No, not in the least.
They are not going to get out of the West. Meanwhile, the Pacers, they look pretty good. Even Miles Turner looks like a player who's turning back the clock a little bit. So,
they're looking really good. It's a coaching, man. They're looking better with Rick Carlisle than
that's what I said.
McMillan.
I like my man Slick Rick Carlisle,
Big
man.
facts.
He can still coach.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely interesting. But
no, the Kings are still they're still solidly in sixth place right now in the West. They're playing well, still a playoff team. Still, like you said, you still got some things to figure out on the defensive end. But I do think this is one of those trades where it worked out. Like they needed a big man, they needed a big desperately, and they got one. And it's only hindsight you want to look at it like, oh, was he underestimated? Because Halliburton's just playing absolutely insane right now. But sometimes you do what you got to do. I mean, it's the same thing with the Clippers. Like I said, people saw flashes in SGA. It was going to take a player of that caliber with that upside to get Paul George at that time. So, yeah, would they like to have SGA right now? Yeah, absolutely. But I also think the Clippers thought they probably would have had a title by now, right? That's the fact of that one. But again, I think if you think either one of those players was underestimated, you're not wrong. Now, Brenden, you brought up a really good point during the break. So we're going to go there. And that was, this weekend was so crazy, and our morning added to that, mainly my morning, and you're a superhero, dumb, that we haven't even talked about the biggest signing in American professional sports history down in Los Angeles, where Shohei Ohtani announced. Now, the Dodgers, I did just look, there's 2 articles on their website, but it looks like they're written from generic MLB authors, not like team insiders, and they haven't made an official statement yet. But Shohei Ohtani did announce that he has chosen to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Reports coming in that he is signing a 10-year, $700 million deal, Brenden. $700 million. Yikers. And he's going like Bobby Bonilla style because reports are also that he's chosen for a large chunk of his contract to be deferred so they can use money to go sign more players and make the team a winner. So, dang. They need to start doing that in other sports. Like, that's what.
This is pretty high. Obviously, it's the highest paid contract in North American sports now, and I think it's going to set a new standard. Now, he being a two-way star, there will probably be no one who makes this much money until that happens. But, like, just thinking in my head, and Justin, I mentioned it last week, guys who will probably break Mike Trout's record, which was like 400, because this obliterated it.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Trout was like 412 or something like that. I think of a guy like, oh gosh, help me out. In Seattle,
J-Rod?
Yes, Julio Rodriguez is going to be someone who gets hundreds of millions of dollars. Adley Rutschman, being a two-way catcher and pride of Sherwood, Oregon, would not be surprised if he gets a $400 million.
Big shout out, Clutchman. That guy makes this duck root for a beaver because he is so goodness, so fun to watch.
And Sherwood could not be more proud to have him as our own native son.
So fun to watch. Man.
Definitely the only reason anybody knows Sherwood nationally, Chris, is definitely because of Adley Rutschman.
It's not because of you?
Oh, gosh, I wish.
That's your new nickname. You're the Sherwood savior, man.
If I could do a sliding scale, Adley Rutschman's up here, Brendan's down here.
If you're ever stuck on I-5 out of gas, call the Sherwood savior.
But jokes aside, yeah, no, I mean, it is ridiculous money. But, Chris, just based on the fact that he did things that nobody has done since Babe Ruth, I mean, we're all talking about monopoly money and everything anyway with sports contracts and coaches' contracts and NIL at college. Like, I have no problem giving Shohei that much money. Now, we'll see. He's had, 2 UCL injuries now in the elbow? Like, that scares me a little bit to commit a lot of money to a guy who's had a few injuries. But, heck, if you're Magic Johnson and the Dodgers, you make that move 10 times out of 10.
It's baseball. If you're one of the big teams. Like, I think so many people poo-poo this deal because they look at it through the lens of the sport that they tend to cover, right? Like, if this were a football deal, you're like, what in the heck's going on? If this was a basketball deal, you're like, what? For a dude who's coming off injury? Baseball money is a little bit different. Like, yeah, it's guaranteed money, but if you're there, the fact that it's not like the NBA, every team has the exact same amount of money and salary caps, it's a Wild West show. Yeah, if you're the Dodgers and the Yankees, you throw money around. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, whatever. We'll just go print some more money tomorrow and we'll go throw it around. No big deal. There's a little bit of risk involved if he doesn't return to the mound in any way, shape, or form close to what he can be at his top. But the dude can still hit. He's a banger when it comes to mashing him at the plate. I cannot tell you how many times I've retweeted a clip of his because I think his hitting mechanics are some of the best I've ever seen. Just the way he loads that front foot nice and soft, powers through all the way from ankle, knee to hips, up through the torso, and just slings that bat through the zone at a high rate of speed. His mechanics are incredible. Yeah, I think he's one of the most fun players to watch. What I think is crazy is Major League Baseball has done an absolute injustice to him in the fact that they have, as you just said, a guy who's doing things that we haven't seen since Babe Ruth, a guy who might be one of the best players to ever play the game. And if you put him in front of a random sports fan, put a picture of him, not many people would know who he was. Major League Baseball has done him a major injustice and a failure to market him properly. And it's crazy. And that's not just an Ohtani problem. That was a Mike Trout problem. It's an Aaron Judge problem. And quite honestly, probably outside of Seattle, it's a Julio Rodriguez problem.
Bryce Harper's another one who could have been marketed. I know Bryce Harper's not the most lovable dude, but he's still extremely talented.
Yeah, here's the thing with Bryce Harper, though. Like, Bryce Harper is, and coming in around all that hype and stuff, too. Like, Bryce Harper is a high school to Major League Baseball guy, just like LeBron James. He was touted as the next big thing, had a ton of hype, just like LeBron James. And outside of, leaving Washington for Philly, only for Washington to go play in the World Series, he's lived up to the hype. He's been incredible on the diamond, Bryce Harper has, right? So, and again, have failed to truly market him as a star of that game. And everyone wants to talk about baseball dying. Baseball is not dying, nor is it close to dead because a team is shelling out $700 million over a decade for a guy who can pitch and hit. It's not dead. Its marketing campaign for its own players, though, is absolutely atrocious. Because again, a guy that, again, I know you love him. You're a Beaver, and he's from your hometown, but like they should be pushing a guy like Adley Rutschman to the moon.
Well, and I think that's the problem. Is that's why, for lack of better terms, and I apologize for any baseball fans that are listening. That's why it's called America's pastime and not America's current time. Because if you were to guess right now, Chris, I mean, I don't want to poo-poo baseball and what it is because I love college baseball, and I can be entertained the right time of the year with the MLB. I think the season's a little bit long. I think the lack of a salary cap is pretty ridiculous and allows for free spending and all those things. But you're right. Like, growing up, like for me, I was never really interested in professional baseball. One, because the Mariners were no good. And for two, there were never, like, got to think of when I grew up, born in 96, growing up in the early 2000s. And so, like, I remember, like, before knowing what we know now, like, I remember, like, when Barry Bonds hit the home run record, before we knew what we knew. And even still, it was kind of like, oh, that's not as cool as, like, Reggie Bush outrunning dudes by 90 yards, going zigzagging back and forth.
Oh, no, it was cool.
So,
trust me, I lived through what? Was it
I know,
95,
I'm just saying
McGuire, Sosa?
I'm just saying the perspective of a kid at the time, and maybe why kids my age and younger aren't the biggest baseball fans, because college football and college basketball, or college football, basketball, professional basketball, heck, maybe even golf or some other sports have had some buzz to it. And
college baseball is interesting too because it's a niche. I'll tell you what.
I mean that's a Beaver thing for sure. I'll say that is a Beaver thing.
No, but look at it from my perspective for a second as a Duck. Okay, even in my perspective, they didn't have a baseball team, so you didn't pay attention. Nobody that I knew paid attention to college baseball until Oregon State won those World Series. You're like, oh,
so true.
Local teams go, oh yeah, college baseball is a thing. Now I'm going to start Omaha, yeah. Like it's so niche, but also like, and maybe I'm wrong here, and I feel like I'm a baseball guy. I love baseball, but it's like the last guy I remember truly just being marketed to his potential as a face of the league, Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. He has his own logo. Nike took a baseball player and gave him a signature shoe. The dude was on Pepsi commercials left and right. Like, it's just, where is Shohei Ohtani? Where is Harper? Where is Trout? Julio Rodriguez on all these big national media
Juan
campaigns?
Soto, Manny Machado. I mean, Aaron Judge, you mentioned. Giancarlo Stanton. Take your pick.
Goes on and on.
It's not, there's again.
Like, I should turn on the TV, no joke, Brenden, and just like Chris Paul is in every State Farm commercial, I should see, as much as it hates me or pains me as a Red Sox fan, I should see more Aaron Judge on my TV.
You should.
Right? I mean, dude, State Farm went out and said, oh, yeah, marketing power, she has it. We're going to get Sabrina. And they put her in the State Farm commercial right next to Chris Paul.
And, obviously, my buddy and I were joking about it last night. We're like, if Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid weren't, cool as cucumbers together, would they be in a State Farm? Multiple versions. It's not like Andy Reid's in one now, folks. Andy Reid is in like 3 different versions. And I wouldn't say that Patrick Mahomes is necessarily the most marketable, not hating on his voice, but again, maybe not the most marketable. And he's there all the time, Chris.
Yeah.
So you're right. They totally have a marketing problem. But, this is a league that, I mean, is it a stretch to say they are the 3rd most popular professional sports league?
No.
Maybe 4th if you start to put MLS probably hasn't passed. Or NHL. I don't know. NHL's got a lot of support.
NHL numbers are close, I believe.
So that would be interesting to me. And truth be told, Chris, if you said right now watch a regular season, not playoffs, regular season hockey game versus regular season baseball game, I might choose hockey.
Hockey's dope. Hockey's awesome.
So, and that's not a slight. That's just,
Excuse me. No, I'm a baseball guy too. I love baseball. That's my one big gripe with it, man, is they're the way they market's crazy. Because just think about it that way, Brenden. because Shohei Ohtani just signed a 10-year, $700 million deal. And we just hosted a radio show, and it took us 2.5 hours to even talk about it. I listened to Two Pros and a Cup of Joe right here on iHeartRadio coming in. They were talking about Mahomes and being offsides. And then the Eagles and the Niners. There was no talk about Ohtani. Like the biggest player in that sport signing the biggest sports deal we've ever seen gets forgotten about when you're thinking about things to talk about on the radio show. Like that is not, I don't think that's a me problem. I don't think that's a Brady Quinn problem on Two Pros or a Stephen A problem. No, it's a baseball marketing problem. Because it's wild to me. It's absolutely wild to me. Because if you had the equivalent of Shohei in Major League or in the NBA right now, which would be a dude in his prime who is legit in the conversation as the greatest to ever play, kind of like when you had LeBron in Miami and Cleveland, you are pushing him to the moon, and he is everywhere. You cannot unsee him. NBA, say what you will about it. I know it has haters. It knows how to market. It absolutely knows how to market because it's made a killing off of its marketing and social media. Unlike the NFL, which is so stingy. They remember back there for a while, they wouldn't even let teams tweet out their own highlights. So teams one team had to tweet out a highlight from Madden because they couldn't use their own the game footage because the NFL was so stingy.
I remember that. Yep.
MLB or NBA's completely embraced social media, and that's what has their rating so good is because people can consume it so easily. I can jump on Twitter and watch highlights and retweet them, with impunity, and it's nice. I don't know. It just bothers me, Brenden, because I love baseball so much, and I love Shohei Ohtani so much as a just baseball purist. Just pains me that not more people know him.
It's definitely one of those things that I don't think you're alone with, Chris. And, for me personally, like you said, I will admit my baseball fandom growing up is heavily influenced. Like, I probably don't love college baseball more than the professional ranks as I do without, as you mentioned, I was 10 and 11 years old when Oregon State won back-to-back national championships in baseball. Then I was there and lived it. I was boots on the ground and daily covering the program when they won in 2018. So, college baseball is very special to me. And, some of that kind of magic with baseball, like for me, Chris, and I think you've covered some before too. Postseason MLB baseball, great. Postseason college baseball, severely underrated with the way that they do that format. And it's kind of a round robin kind of a thing too. That's one of the things I really love about springtime.
Springtime's awesome.
It's better than it is now, my friend. I mean, thankfully it wasn't pouring down rain on us this morning.
I was talking about embracing social media and stuff. What made NBA good, and the Fritz points out that hey, Rip City Radio embraced tech. That's right, YouTube baby.
Darn right.
I had to push.
Mostly all Burkhardt. Let's not say we. All Burkhardt.
I had to push Chad, and then I finally just brought a camera in, and I'm like, boop. I ran all of last season's fifth quarter just through my own personal computer.
Because I promise you guys, if Chris didn't push, we would still be coming through your ears only.
Hey, man.
He is the man, the myth. He can give me all the props today, but, I got to give him his flowers too, man.
Well, you get yours today. Like I said, without you, I wasn't here today. Like I said, two most important people in a radio host's wife.
It's like that.
Their wife and their producer.
It's like that it's beyond just the coworkerness, Chris, because of course, I love you like a brother, man. We've been through some stuff together, man. And you know as well as I, we're really tight here at this station because we are a very small crew. And oftentimes
to prove how close this station is and how much we'll work for each other when you need it, I called Shacker at 5:30 in the morning and woke him up just in case we needed him to come save us. And he's like, oh, yeah,
exactly.
got you.
But no, I mean, isn't that what you're taught? Like, some good Samaritan stuff. Like, I wasn't going to leave, again, at first, there were multiple levels of it, folks. At first, I'm like, okay, Chris is just, on the side of 99. No big deal. There's probably a gas station. He's probably off the road. And then he goes, oh, no, I'm off of I-5. And I'm like, oh, well, that's going to be an adventure.
Now it's
Here
early.
we are. So never a dull moment on a Monday morning, folks.
Trust me, when you're sitting in the car waiting for you to help and the cars are, only feet away from you going by so fast, your car moves from the wind. You're like, oh gosh, get Brenden, please get here. Please get here. All right, anyway, we're going to take a break here on The Big Show. When we come back, it is time for my personal favorite segment because I love the randomness that is the mailbag. Chris Burkhardt here with my man Brenden Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. mailbag in River City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Justin Myers this morning. You can follow me on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, at Chris J. Burkhardt, where we can continue having sports chats all day long. And it's interesting, the question being posed in the YouTube chat right now, which if you want to get in on, go to youtube.com, type in River City Radio, and send us some questions and comments and have a little fun with us. But Larry asked, do you think a player will ever sign a $1 billion contract? And I think with the fact that Ohtani just got $700 million, I think the answer is yes. I think it's without question. It's just a matter of time. And as I just pointed out, like Major League Baseball is the one that's most likely because they have those 10-year deals that they sign. The NBA is, I think it's what, a 5-year max if you are allowed all the extra rights and stuff, signing your own free agent. And then you get the bird rights and all that extra stuff. But even those are hard cap. Like you can only be a max player can only be at 35% of the overall cap and have only if you are your team's own free agent, you get like 8% annual increases in wage. So it won't be baseball, but or it won't be basketball, but in baseball with those 10-year deals and a ton of money to throw around, as I pointed out, it was only 20 years ago in the year 2000, Brenden, that A-Rod signed the then record 10-year, $252 million deal. So you flash forward 20 years, and the biggest deal is, 500 mil on top of that. Yeah, I think maybe within the next 10 to 15 years, you might see one of those 10-year, $1 billion contracts if you have an absolute stud out there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's very positionally. I think that without a doubt, you have to. It's going to have to be like an Ohtani. It's going to have to
be a freak.
Like it's going to have to be a two-way player, or I say this forever because. And I'm not biased because I'm not saying it's going to be him, but a two-way catcher with power.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that.
Those are the two positions you could pay out the wazoo for, and I could see it happening.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I think I don't know if the person who signs the very first $1 billion deal is someone playing baseball right now. Like at any level, because it might take another 20 years, but I do think I think it'll happen. I don't think it's going to buoy off. Be crazy. It'd be crazy if it does. Absolutely crazy. I don't know. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But this $700 million for Ohtani is still crazy. Crazy. Larry does say he could easily see professional international soccer player. Yeah, soccer's crazy money over there internationally. That could happen for sure. Absolutely. But, I mean, the thing is, when you factor in endorsements and stuff, these guys they're making bills. They're making bills. All right, Brenden, no more talking. It's time for the mailbag.
It's time for the RCM mailbag. With any question, any topic, Justin can't duck the tough question. What do we have first?
All right, Chris, let's go ahead and fire up the big mailbag today.
Do it.
Let's see. Ooh, would you rather eat all your food with your hands, very childlike, or use utensils with your non-dominant hand?
Well,
so if you're right-handed, you got to use everything with a left, or just eat with your hands.
Well, I'm an Islander, and we pick on ourselves all the time that God built in utensils. Like I don't need a fork, I don't need a spoon.
I love it.
A bowl of cereal might be a little hard, but I mean, give me ribs. I ain't eating that with a fork and knife, baby. I like hand food. Or as the Rib City Remix call it, hand fruit, by the way. They don't sell apples and oranges. They sell hand fruit. I'm going to go with my hand fruit, my hand food on this one, Brenden.
Fair enough. I mean, like some things it wouldn't be bad. Like, like wings? Yeah, give me that all day. But like trying to eat like a steak with your hands.
I'd do it.
You'd rip it apart like a shred. Yeah.
Yep.
Call him Chris, not the butcher, more like the Tyrannosaurus Rex over there.
There you are.
All
Straight
right.
carnivore.
This is a fun one that Justin and I have talked about before, but I'm curious to see what your response will be for this. Would you rather get $1 every time you compliment a stranger, or $100 every time you insult a stranger?
Oh, compliments without a doubt. I could. The only weird part about that, Brenden. See, I want to be positive, right? It's easier to go insult someone, right? Now, if I walk up and like, hey, you're you're looking awful ugly today. You're probably just going to turn around like, what? That dude's weird. And I'm just going to be like, I just made a cool $100. But if I walk up to you randomly in the store, Brenden, for $1, I'm like, hey, bro, your shoes are looking really good. You're going to be like, thanks? That dude's kind of creepy. I don't know. So the real question is, like, do you want to be known as the creeper or the a-hole? Like, that's the question.
Well, it depends. You could be the a-hole, but you could stack up cash real quick.
You can stack up cash.
Like, say they don't. Let me put it this way,
Hey,
Chris.
nice guys finish last.
Say they don't have to hear you. Like, if I could do this during my road rage when I'm on the road, I'd make $1,000 before I got home.
Oh, but if they don't have to hear you. Oh, I'm insulting left and right to make a couple $100. I just don't want to bring people down.
I am the mailbag master, Chris.
If I'm just trying to get free money,
I can change the parameters of the question. So
and
yeah.
I think if I called you something super rude and upset you and looked you dead in the eye and be like, I got to deal with the devil, so every time I do this, I make $100. You'd probably be like, hey, if you give me like 20 of that, insult me again. I'm like, so I still get 80? Okay,
let's change
get
it
out
up.
of jail free.
Let's change it up slightly. Say you get $100 every time you honk your horn at somebody while driving. How often would you do it?
Oh, I think I made $200 yesterday. So
This is funny because that's technically the best yelling you can do at somebody without yelling.
Yeah.
So just imagine if you got $100 every time you were rightfully, not inaccurately, but rightfully honked your horn like you just got $100.
Yep.
That'd be pretty great.
Yeah, it has to be just cause, though. Can't just be honking at the honk.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move to the next one. I think I know where Chris is going to go with this, but I'm curious. Would you rather have every meal you eat for the rest of your life be too spicy or too sweet?
Oh, man. Here's the deal. Too sweet is just overwhelming really quickly, and then you feel sick.
Agreed.
Spicy, I can find things to dumb it down. Plus, I like a little bit of spice, so I'd probably go too spicy. There's ways for me to help that. Too sweet, I don't think there's anything I can do to help balance it out without just feeling like I just got a brick in my gut by the end of the day.
No, that's fair. It's true. It's well, I mean, anything sweet's tough to eat a lot of. It just like you said, sits in a brick. Some people can handle spicy food, others can't. I like some good spice too.
Oh, as do I.
Yeah, I'm like give me the hot sauce with pretty much everything. But I think that'll go ahead and put a wrap on today, Chris.
Well, it's been a good one.
Oh,
now
it sure has.
I get to cross my finger. My wife says I'd be rich. I don't know if she's referring to honking or insulting, but probably honking. Or if I could just road rage
Shout
without
out
people
Mrs.
knowing
B.
it. Yeah, Miss Burkhardt knows what's up. But hey, now I get to cross my fingers and hope that we put enough gas in that gas tank for me to
just get to the next station.
Yeah, get to the next station and get to the office in time. It has been fun, Brenden. I'm in debt to you forever, my friend. And everyone for the chat listening, it has been fun. Justin will be back tomorrow. You got Chad with Rip City Driving the Game Day starting at 3 o'clock right here on Rip City Radio. Love you guys. See you later. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more coming up today on Rip City Radio 620.